I think she's uninformed. She is a total waste of time. She is a horrible leader. She is dragging our brand down. She, not the Democrats, are the biggest risk to us getting back to a majority.
Republicans are breaking up with Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. Now, on Tuesday, Congress passed a $95 billion foreign aid package for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. This is even after Greene and several other members of the far right threatened to remove Speaker Mike Johnson from his position. If he did so, they called her bluff, and she lost. Oops. Now the New York Times' Michelle Cottle decides it's perfect. It's the perfect time to rub some salt in that wound, writing that Greene has just had the worst week of her political career, culminating in Donald Trump siding with House Speaker Mike Johnson on the bill and subsequently leaving her flapping and flailing, which is always fun. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Okay. Now, in fact, she says, Taylor Greene now stands humiliated after embarrassing herself to the point where members of her own team feel compelled to abandon her. In fact, Trump had called Johnson a quote-unquote good person who's just trying his best. Trump, in an interview on Monday night, said, quote, well, look, we have a majority of one, okay? It's not like he can go and do whatever he wants to do, Trump said of Johnson. I think he's a very good person. You know, he stood very strongly with me on NATO when I said NATO has to pay up. I think he's a very good man. I think he's trying very hard. And again, we've got to have a big election.
This election is about the people.
Okay. Marjorie Greene, when you lose Donald Trump, that's not good. Okay? She lost Trump. Now, as Cottle notes, Greene has done significant damage to the far right wing in the House and will likely see her influence in the caucus quickly wane at a rapid pace. Once again, I love it. You love to see it. You know you do. In fact, you know, almost as good as somebody, you know, dragging her out with the gazpacho police, okay?
Nancy Pelosi's gazpacho police.
All right. Anyway, so she continues to write, she has in very little time undermined the influence of her party's entire right flank, driving less unhinged Republicans, most notably the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, to brush back her ilk like the poo-flinging chaos monkeys they are.
Dumps. Big, massive dumps.
Not an inaccurate description, all right, of what's going on. That said, I've talked about how Mike Johnson is really supporting funding Ukraine because there are reports that the Russian government, the Russian, specifically the Russian Orthodox Church, has been oppressing evangelicals in Russian-controlled areas of Ukraine. So that is of specific importance to evangelical voters and Mike Johnson, who himself is one of those evangelicals. So anyway, she continues, I may be off base, Marjo, but trashing your colleagues as no better than the other side in a high-stakes election year is not the best way to win them over to your kamikaze mission. Hey, you know, good point. Good point. Marjorie Greene certainly has not won many friends. One of her friends that she had when she was when they were in Congress was the former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. No longer there. So going against the current speaker, once again, not a good way to endear yourself to your buddies. Now, I showed you some of the reaction here. That first video at the beginning was Tom Tillis, but there's more. Senator Mitt Romney also said of Greene, there are some folks that try to get themselves as many tweets, as many followers as they can, a lot of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Again, when Mitt Romney can own you, that's a problem. Republican Senator Kevin Cramer also said that if Johnson is not good enough, no one's going to be good enough. And I'm, you know, that's in, again, regards to Marjorie Greene. The New York Post the other day went after Greene posting this. Yeah. So there's that. and even before the aid bill had passed the House, because it just passed the Senate and will be signed by President Joe Biden. I believe by the time that this video comes out, it will have already been signed. Former Representative Ken Buck had told CNN back before the aid passed the House, Moscow Marjorie has reached a new low. She is mouthing the Russian propaganda and really hurting American foreign policy in the process. She's acting completely irresponsibly, and again, when history looks at this period of time, Russia invaded Ukraine. Ukraine is fighting for its freedom, and we should be with the freedom fighters in this war. Now, speaking of that, Cottle did go on to say that Marjorie has fans. She's still got some people standing with her. More food for thought, Congresswoman. When Russian propagandists start praising your politics and beauty, it's time to rethink your life choices. Now, is she going to do that? No, of course not. Look, yes, Republicans obviously despise her, and she can just wave that off as it's the establishment. But wait, Donald Trump also didn't agree with her on this one. Okay, well, that might cost her, but here's the thing, though. At the end of the day, it's not the other Republicans that put her in power. Yes, of course, she's going to have to come to a consensus. She's going to have to try to work with her colleagues in order to push, and advance her agenda. But it's the voters that put her in power in the first place. And that's ultimately who she's going to answer for, or answer to. As Thomas Gift, who heads the Center on U.S. Politics at University College London, told Newsweek, she, along with the rest of the blow-up-the-system wing of the GOP, is not only closer to the median Newsmax-watching, MAGA hat-wearing conservative in ruby red districts across the country, they also hold more political clout in a nearly evenly divided House, with the unchecked power to call a snap vote on the speakership. One vote on Ukraine doesn't change that. So, look, Marjorie Greene can still put up that motion to vacate, and she's been threatening to do so. Yes, she lost on that threat. She was even questioned by Fox host Maria Bartiromo on hey, what's your plan to remove Speaker Johnson? And she couldn't answer it. Still, she could bring up that motion to vacate. Yes, it would take a lot of votes. She might not. I don't believe she has those votes to be able to do so, which is probably why she hasn't issued it yet, but that threat still is there. That said, I think most of the Republicans, fresh off the chaos of getting rid of Kevin McCarthy, along with the help of the Democrats, by the way, which the Democrats right now are like, yeah, no, we'll keep what we've got right now. We'll keep Mike Johnson, because apparently he's willing to work with us on passing aid for Ukraine and stuff. So yeah, we'll keep him there, and we'll not vote for a motion to vacate. So she really doesn't have a lot of options. That said, as far as her being in Congress, yeah, she might be losing her clout, might be losing her power, but she's not going anywhere. All right, as long as the voters keep voting her back in, she's actually not going to go anywhere. And most of the likely, what she's going to end up doing is just being there and giving the rest of her colleagues a constant headache.